Get rich, then stay quiet about it. That might sound like advice from your overly cautious relative at a family gathering, right? But here's something that could genuinely surprise you. A number of the wealthiest people around you are the ones driving old, dented sedans, wearing plain clothes from discount stores, and you'd never suspect they have more saved up than most people will ever see. My name is Marcus, and I spend a lot of time studying money and why so many people end up sabotaging themselves right when they start building real wealth. If you're the kind of person who wants to understand genuine financial independence instead of just performing wealth with flashy purchases, consider subscribing and leaving a like if this changes your perspective on money. Now, before we get into why staying silent about your finances might be one of the smartest moves you'll ever make, let me ask you this. When you imagine being wealthy, what comes to mind first? Maybe it's showing off a brand new sports car online. Perhaps it's owning a huge house with far more space than you'll ever use. Or maybe it's strolling through high-end shops and buying anything you want without checking the price. Here's something fascinating about how people think. Most people don't actually want wealth itself. They want the appearance of wealth. There's a huge gap between those two goals, and understanding that gap will decide whether you build real, lasting wealth or end up broke, surrounded by expensive things. Ask yourself honestly, why do you actually want money? Peel back the obvious answers and be truthful with yourself. You might say it's about freedom or supporting your family, but if you look closer, part of you probably wants others to notice you've succeeded. You want recognition, admiration, maybe a bit of envy from people still stuck in jobs they can't stand. That craving for recognition isn't inherently bad, but it becomes risky if you don't understand its consequences. The instant you begin flaunting your success, you put a target on yourself. And not only from criminals, though that's a real concern too. There's a subtler, more damaging risk to your long-term financial well-being. Let's talk about something called quiet wealth and why it might be the most effective financial approach nobody discusses. Quiet wealth means exactly what it sounds like. You build substantial savings, but the people around you have no clue. You live simply, drive practical vehicles, and steer clear of the lifestyle creep that ruins so many people who achieve financial success. I know what you might be thinking. What's the point of having money if you can't spend it? Fair point, and we'll cover that. But first, let's look at why showing off your wealth is one of the quickest ways to lose it. Safety and privacy become serious issues the moment people learn you have money. People who display their success openly often become targets for theft, fraud, and other crimes. That's why so many affluent individuals hire security and live behind gates. Advertising your wealth invites problems you didn't have before. But security risks aren't even the biggest concern. The real danger is how your relationships shift once people find out about your money. Every interaction starts carrying the suspicion of hidden motives. That new acquaintance who suddenly wants to spend more time with you, maybe they genuinely enjoy your company, or maybe they're hoping you'll cover the bill at pricey restaurants. That distant cousin who starts calling more, maybe they missed you, or maybe word got around that you've come into money. This isn't pessimism. It's simply how things tend to go. Money changes how people see you, and more importantly, how they act around you. Some of the most isolated people are wealthy individuals who can never be certain whether someone likes them for who they are or for what they can offer. Here's something that might catch you off guard. Plenty of high earners intentionally drive unremarkable cars, people pulling in six figures cruising around in ordinary sedans. Why? Because they've realized something most people never do. Your vehicle doesn't need to broadcast your bank balance. When you drive something modest, live in an average home, and dress simply, you unlock something valuable. Real connections with people who have no idea about your finances. You get to interact as equals without the strange power imbalance that money often introduces. Think about your own circle of friends. How would things change if they knew you had 10 times more money than they do? Would they still split the bill evenly? Would they still vent to you about money troubles? Would the dynamic stay the same, or would there be some quiet tension that wasn't there before? This is why so many wealthy people gravitate toward other wealthy people, not out of snobbery, even if it looks that way from outside, but as a form of self-protection. When everyone around you has similar resources, money stops being a source of friction in your relationships. Here's where it gets even more interesting. The pressure to keep up appearances once you start showing off can actually make you poorer over time. Say you buy a flashy car to signal success. Now you feel obligated to match that image. The right clothes, a house that fits the image, dining out and vacationing in ways that align with the lifestyle you've built. Before long, you're stuck in what I'd call the image trap, working harder and spending more just to maintain a persona built for other people's approval. Meanwhile, someone genuinely wealthy is quietly growing their assets because they're not burning cash on status symbols. There's an old idea about wealth that captures this perfectly. There are 3 stages of being rich. When you're broke, you mow your own lawn. When you're comfortable, you pay someone else to mow it. But once you're truly wealthy, you go back to mowing it yourself, because you've realized freedom means doing what you actually want, not what you assume rich people are supposed to do. That person who returns to mowing their own lawn has figured out that possessions don't create lasting happiness, experiences and relationships do, along with the freedom to spend your time as you choose. A garage full of expensive cars that need upkeep, insurance, and constant worry about damage isn't freedom, it's costly stress. This leads to one of the more counterintuitive truths about building real wealth. The things that matter most in life are usually cheap or free. Time with people you love, quality sleep, a walk outdoors, a book that shifts your thinking, a conversation that makes you see something differently. None of that requires wealth, but wealth can make it more accessible. When you're financially stable, you can work less and invest more time in relationships. You can explore new cultures, pursue hobbies without worrying about whether they'll pay off, but none of this requires anyone else to know your financial situation. Picture a class reunion where someone who used to bully you shows up bragging about his new car and corner office, while you're standing there in old jeans knowing you could buy his whole neighborhood without blinking. There's something quietly satisfying about that, isn't there? That's the hidden advantage of staying under the radar, and you move through the world with information nobody else has, like a financial secret identity. People treat you normally because they have no idea you've already escaped the trap they're still stuck in. Here's a real-world example. I know someone who built a fortune in property development. Every morning, he puts on work boots and drives a battered old truck to job sites. His crew has no clue he owns the entire company. He eats lunch with them, jokes around, gets treated like one of the team. Compare that to a contractor who rolls up in a brand new luxury truck and suddenly everyone assumes he's overcharging or start asking for raises. Which one do you think has better relationships and less daily stress? This is where things get psychologically interesting. When you're not broadcasting wealth, you get to see people's true colors. You learn who's actually generous when they assume you're struggling. You discover who helps without expecting anything back. You find out which friends invite you along because they enjoy your company, not because they expect you to pay. That kind of insight is priceless. It's like seeing straight through to people's real character. You get better at deciding who to trust and who deserves a spot in your inner circle. Meanwhile, someone flaunting their wealth is left wondering if people like them or just their money. There are practical upsides too. When service providers assume you're an average customer, you get honest quotes and real service. The moment they sense money, prices climb. Mechanics push premium add-ons. Contractors suddenly find extra work that must be done. Financial advisors steer you toward high-fee products that benefit them more than you. There's a whole industry built around separating wealthy people from their money, and the first step is figuring out who has it. Staying under the radar keeps you off that radar entirely. Now let's address the obvious pushback. What's the point of having money if you can't enjoy it? This is probably the most common objection, and it comes from a misunderstanding of what money is really for. Money isn't meant to impress people. It's meant to buy you options, freedom, and less stress, and to help you live life on your own terms. None of that requires anyone else to know about it. Think back to the last time you felt truly happy, a moment where you forgot about everything else and just felt content. Was it because of something expensive you owned? Or was it a conversation with someone you care about, a moment outdoors, or doing something you love? Most of our deepest satisfaction comes from experiences and relationships, not possessions. And here's the interesting paradox. When people don't know about your money, your experiences often become richer and your relationships more genuine. Take travel, for instance. When you're not trying to document an expensive trip for social media, you actually get to live it. You can stay in simple places and find hidden gems that resort guests never see. You can have real conversations with locals who aren't trying to get money out of you. You can focus on the experience itself instead of creating content to prove you can afford it. There's something freeing about removing the performance from wealth. You stop living for other people's approval and start living for your own satisfaction. You realize the best things in life aren't things at all. This mindset shift also makes you a sharper investor. When you're not burning money on status symbols, you have more to put into things that actually grow your wealth. While others finance depreciating luxury items, you're buying appreciating assets. While they pay premium prices to keep up an image, your money compounds. Every dollar you don't spend showing off is a dollar working for you for decades, and over time, that gap between the show-offs and the quietly wealthy becomes enormous. There's another angle most people overlook. Staying private keeps your edge in business. Nobody's trying to overcharge you because they assume you have deep pockets. Nobody's leaving you out of deals because they assume you don't need them. You compete on merit instead of assumptions about your finances. I've seen wealthy business owners who still negotiate every contract like every dollar matters, and their businesses thrive because of it. Chant. While those who flaunt success find suppliers, staff, and partners all expecting premium treatment and pricing. Staying quiet about wealth also protects you from one of the biggest threats to it, the people closest to you. Relatives who know you have money will find reasons you should share it. Friends develop sudden amnesia when it's time to split a bill. Co-workers expect you to fund office parties and fundraisers. None of this makes these people bad, it's just human nature. When people know you have more, they unconsciously adjust their expectations, and fairness somehow always ends up benefiting them and costing you. The answer isn't cutting people off, it's controlling who knows what about your finances. You can still be generous on your own terms rather than out of obligation. This becomes even more valuable once you realize how exhausting it is to keep up appearances. Think about public figures who complain about the pressure of always looking perfect. Now, imagine creating that same pressure for yourself voluntarily, just so people know you have money. That's signing up for a lifetime of performance anxiety. Ironically, the people most impressed by displays of wealth are usually the ones who can't actually afford them. Meanwhile, genuinely wealthy people often see straight through the act. They know the difference between someone who has money and someone who's just spending it. This raises an interesting point about debt-funded luxury. How many flashy social media posts are actually financed by credit cards and loans? Probably more than you'd guess. Social media has created this strange economy where people go into debt just to appear successful to strangers online. When you embrace staying quiet about wealth, you opt out of that entire exhausting game. You stop caring what your car says about you because it's just transportation. You stop worrying about brand names because comfort and quality matter more than logos. Here's something that might surprise you. Some genuinely wealthy people shop at warehouse stores, use coupons, and drive their cars until they fall apart, not out of necessity, but by choice, because they know every dollar saved compounds over decades. There's a term in psychology for part of this, hedonic adaptation. People adjust to lifestyle improvements faster than they expect. That first week with a new luxury car feels incredible, but by month 3, it's just a car. The thrill fades, but the payment doesn't. Meanwhile, someone who bought a reliable used car and invested the difference is quietly building wealth that pays off for decades. This mindset also improves your decision-making since you're not clouded by ego or image. Before a big purchase, you can ask yourself honestly, do I need this, or do I just want people to see me with it? Will this genuinely improve my life, or am I chasing some imaginary standard? Questions like these become a real financial advantage. While others make impulsive purchases they'll regret, you make deliberate choices aligned with your actual goals. Almost everyone who builds wealth quietly develops something I'd call financial confidence, a quiet certainty that you could handle nearly any financial curveball life throws at you. Car breaks down, no problem. Unexpected medical bill? Covered. Want to take a spontaneous trip? Done. That's completely different from the anxious energy of maintaining an expensive lifestyle on shaky financial ground. It's the difference between actually being secure and just appearing secure. And that confidence spreads into every part of your life. Better negotiating because you're not desperate. Calculated risks because you have a safety net. Better sleep because you're not stressing over payments on things bought to impress people you might not even like. Now, a common concern. What if you want to be generous with your money? Help family, support causes you care about, treat friends to something nice. Good news. Staying quiet about your wealth doesn't stop you from being generous. If anything, it makes your generosity more meaningful because it comes from genuine choice rather than obligation or expectation. So there it is. When you build wealth, keep it to yourself and let everyone else play the exhausting game of financial appearances. Build quietly, enjoy your freedom privately. And remember, true prosperity isn't about what you own, it's about what doesn't own you. The best kind of wealthy is the kind nobody sees coming.